Think I am. Hey, we're live.
Sup?
Hey, welcome to a special edition, Real Pastors Thursday night, Loki Live. Loki Live. That's what I'm calling it. It's got a nice ring to it, don't you think?
I think so. I think it has a great ring to it.
Yeah.
And
Efren's going the extra mile. He is on vacation with his family, but he is making time for Real Pastors. Hats off to you, sir, for that.
Thank you, sir. Yes, there's a lot of hoops we had to get through to get to this point, but at least we're here to continue talking about Loki.
You let no hoops stand in your way, so I applaud you on that.
Thank you.
My only hoop was my crazy kids not wanting to go to bed, but after a couple boxing matches, they're in bed. Now let's talk some Loki.
Good. Here we go.
Yeah.
So when did you get to watch it, sir?
I watched it this morning. I for whatever reason, these Disney shows, I'm a Thursday morning, whenever the next morning kind of guy. Get the coffee and sit and watch it. So I watched it this morning. And how about you?
Yeah, I was actually able to watch it last night. I did before I went to bed, because I could just sit there, with the thing I'm on right now and just be able to watch it. So it was a pretty decent experience. Not the same as at home with the home theater, but it did its job.
You know what I like to do when I watch stuff on my phone? Because I will at night, if I can't sleep and I want to put something up on my phone because I'm too lazy to walk in the living room, is I'll put it on my side table up against the lamp and I'll have it really close to my head. And that sounds insane. It's probably not safe. It's probably not I'm probably going to have eye trouble. But when you angle it that way, it looks like you're in like a big screen.
Right.
So I'm sure with an iPad look even better because I use it with an iPhone. But yeah.
Yes.
So
yes, it was.
That's kind of what I do. So let's dive in here.
Let's do it.
What did you think about episode 3 of Loki? Because I have some thoughts, and I know you do as well. But I'll let you get started because you're better at this than I am.
All good. So, for me, when I was thinking about Loki, I mean, like I said, in the first 2 episodes, I thought would have been really good, like we discussed in our review of last week. And if you haven't seen that, go check that out and then come back and watch it.
Yeah, please.
And just so you know, normally in our reviews, sometimes you have spoilers and stuff, whatever. We won't really have spoilers in this one. At least I don't think. I mean, there's not really much to spoil.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing happened. I think that pretty much explains it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, folks. Thanks for listening. Subscribe. Hit that alert button. And that's episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So. I know. It was. So I felt like the beginning was pretty cool. Picking up where the second one left off, and they had that little battle on the TVA. I'm like, okay, we're in for a really cool episode. And then they jump through the hoops again. They go to this other planet, which again, it did previews and stuff. I mean, you saw some of that. And even what was going on while they were on that planet, I was like, oh, this could really lead into some really good storytelling, right? And you know how we both are about storytelling and character and all this kind of stuff. But then I just felt that, and I felt this way, and we didn't get to talk about it. I felt this way with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I felt this way a little bit with WandaVision. For the sake of, there's just another way to say it. I know we try to avoid stuff, but for the sake of some kind of social justice, what's the word? Social justice. I had the word, I forgot it. But for the sake of just taking time for that, I guess, I felt like they just completely paused the episode just to do this one thing, right? And again, it's one of those things, we're trying not to tell you everything, but you on the internet at all, you probably already know. But and I just, for me, I've always had a problem when you try to stop the story for something that has nothing to do with anything that is going on, and then they go back to the story. Because that's the thing, once they move past that stuff, I guess kind of talk about, I'm assuming if people watch the review, you probably already watched the show. But there's this whole thing about a train, which when you get on a train, cool stuff usually happens.
I love trains.
Yeah, train stuff is awesome. And
Big fan.
So after the train stuff, that stuff was really, really cool. And I liked it. But I just felt like they're like, we're going to hit pause because we want to take time, in my opinion, to insert something to a character that didn't need to be done. It's of no consequence to the character, Yeah. It's of no consequence. It doesn't matter. And, and people may argue, and I have, debates or whatever with all that kind of stuff, but I'm just kind of like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the character looks out for one person and one person alone, and that's him. And he is the god of mischief. He is the god of lies. He will say and do anything. So anything he says in any of these episodes, you have to take with a grain of salt. So it's not like you can take the time for this kind of thing and be like, oh yeah, look at us, virtue signaling, or we're getting this out there. Look at us representing, and it's just like, it doesn't mean anything with that character.
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
it means nothing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And that's what bothered me. Like, and here's the thing. Maybe have you seen Cruella yet? I can't remember if you said you saw it yet.
No, I was gonna try to sneak away and go see it today. However, no chance.
Okay, so in Cruella, they have a character that it's the same kind of deal with what they're trying to do here, right? But here's the reason why in Cruella it doesn't bother me one bit, because it is just a new character that you're introduced to. It is what it is. They don't like try to say, hey, here's what this character is. Let's just point this out. They don't take the time to pause everything. It's just what it is, and you just know, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me, because it supports the story. It's everything that's happening. And the fact that they like paused everything to say, okay, we want to make sure this about him. I mean, it's about Loki, right? I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah.
This is what the show is. We want you to know that this is about Loki. It's like, okay, thanks for wasting, 25 minutes of my 40-minute show. Like, can we get on with the show? Like, who cares? And that was my only thing. Yeah, this scene here. And it was just kind of like, yeah, and I'm just kind of like, you had a great beginning. You had to me, a fantastic end. I love the way this thing ended. But like, I just felt like they kind of wasted an episode doing this, because they just felt like it had to be done, which is like, it didn't need to be done. So I don't know. I'd talk too much here. You go right ahead.
No, and here's the thing. There are times I wish you and I disagreed more, because I think it would make for a better show. But I mean, I could not agree more with you, because I had the exact same thoughts. When this was revealed, this whole thing, I thought the exact same thing. I was like, oh, okay, they're going there, and this will be all everybody talks about, and this episode will probably be praised because of that. And but everything, you're right, it adds nothing to the character. We don't need this from this character, and like you said, you were talking about Cruella. The key phrase you said there was, it supported the story. And I don't care what you do, as long as if it supports the story and character development, I'm all for it. And this was just so on the nose, like, oh, it was just such an eye roll moment, but needless to say, it doesn't surprise me, However, this episode though, everything in the middle between the beginning and the end, which obviously that's the middle, was filler. It was about this moment, and it surprises me that a show that has 6 episodes has a filler episode. That was kind of surprising to me. Not necessarily a bad episode, because I was intrigued through it, but it was filler. It's basically this conversation, a really cool end that I think saved a little bit. A one take fight through the streets. Really like that. We're not spoiling, right? Is that right? We're not spoiling.
Yeah, we're not trying to spoil.
Okay, yeah. And
too close to when it came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. And so that was really cool. But there's a one take shot at the end, and Efra and I are big fans of that. And but
it looked really good.
Like, yeah. But everything else it was just filler, and it was built around this conversation they had here. And so definitely, I mean, it's only been 3 episodes, but I also thought that Owen Wilson's character was missing tremendously.
Yes.
Like, he adds so much to this show, and I have some questions, that I'm just kind of confused about when it comes to this, and maybe I can ask you off air. I don't know, because I don't want to spoil anything. But it's not really a spoiler, I guess. But okay, explain to me. And I'm thinking I just missed something, but in the first 2 episodes. So is she a female version of Loki? Is that what we're saying here? Or what am I missing? Okay.
Yeah, she is a variant.
Which is
alternate. She's an alternate version of Loki. So she's spewed out of the timeline. And see, this is where I'm starting to have a little bit of trouble with this show, because now the show is starting to contradict itself.
Gotcha.
All right? Because here's the thing. If you remember in the first episode, it said that there's only one timeline, right? And then once something spews, that's when the TVA, the one timeline that the timekeepers keep, right? Because there's too many competing. So there's only one. And so anytime anything, spews off to the side and creates a new branch, TVA jumps in, controls the variant, brings it in, and then resets the timeline, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, how can this female Loki exist?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
See, so that's kind of a problem for me. See, I thought they were going with, they brought Loki in to find him because they already tried this once. And then so the same exact future Loki is coming back to like mess things up. And so they try to get him to stop himself, to fix the timeline. I thought they were trying to do something like that, a little bit more Back to the Future-esque, a little bit more Endgame-esque. So I thought that's what they were doing. So when they introduced, like in the second episode, that this was a female Loki, one thing I was kind of wondering was like, okay, are they going to show that, like, are they just going to show that, okay, like this isn't really a female, this is just the form this Loki's taking to throw off the real Loki, or something, which maybe that's still the case. I don't know.
Or like they don't want to have to do the whole double actor thing, the Michael Keaton and multiplicity thing, But yeah. Okay. I was just wondering because there was a few things that I was like, did I miss something? But okay. All right. All right. I'm
so they're
good
going
now.
with this female version. Like if you look at like Marvel comics and stuff like that, I mean, even like DC comics, you have different versions of each hero or person, right? Like
DC
depending on which
comics.
universe you're in. And so, but the thing is, with the story of the TVA, it doesn't really make sense that this alternate version would exist.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's why
I hope they address that.
Yeah, and
I hope they address that.
What's that?
I hope they address that and somehow because you're because that's gonna be hard to get past.
Yeah, and so that's why, and that's part of the reason. To me, this episode made me even madder because it's like, okay, there's more questions that need to be answered, and this is what you stop everything for. Yeah, and it's like, and like to me personally, this is lazy writing, right? Like,
and you only got 3 more episodes.
I know.
I mean, come on,
Yeah, honestly, I'll be honest with you. If they would have had this moment with the female Loki, and then throughout this last episode 3. They show how she uses that to her advantage. It would make more sense because at least it services the story. You know what I'm saying? But
that's key phrase of the night: service the story.
Yeah, and so like this whole and that's why it's like, okay, we have all these questions. You have 6 episodes. We need to move things quickly. We need to see what's happening, and this is what we stopped for. And that's why I'm just kind of like, that's why for me this episode was kind of. Kind of just a huge letdown because it was like there's so much you could have done, but this is what you do. And me personally, anytime any show, movie, doesn't matter, has a 2 characters sit down and just narrate their backstory, I always find that lazy writing anyways. So I've never liked that kind of setup anyways. So take that on top of what they were talking about. I'm just like, oh, jeez.
The only people that can pull that off is Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Heat. That is the only time that works. And Tom Hiddleston, I love you, man, but you're neither one of them. So
that's right.
And there's some other things. I'm struggling a little bit. I sound like this is like affecting my life or something, but I'm struggling. But okay, so in Efren, all right. We are good at calling each other out about overthinking situations. So I invite you, as always, tell me if I'm overthinking this. Right. But this is something that I thought about while I was watching this. This is the same Loki in this timeline, in this, that not long ago, a few moments ago, was taking over New York City and fighting the Avengers. And doing some pretty brutal things. And now in this, he is caring about others. You know what I mean? He's affected by like the Loki I know, and the Loki that this isn't the Loki in Infinity War Endgame, that stands up to Thanos. This is the guy that was literally just with those space creatures, terrifying Tony Stark. And now he's affected by other people, and I'm struggling with that if I'm making sense, you know, and
well, especially because you know the timeline, right?
Yeah,
like you know how long it takes for this Loki to get to this point, because from this point you have Loki and Thor, and then you have Loki in Avengers. That's really what you have. And so you're right. Like to this point, it doesn't make like any sense for him to already be to where he was in Infinity War.
Yeah, he's not far away from shooting that old man in the heart at the beginning of Adventures, you know. And now he's talking about you know, just being affected by others. I know he has a heartfelt moments looking at the timeline and stuff, but still I'm not buying it, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, because I mean, you may be affected by something you've seen, but if he's so, but that's the other thing. He is so determined to make his own destiny, to say that's not what it's going to be. I'm going to prove the TVA and the Timekeepers wrong. Like he's already, again, 3 episodes in, he's already. I mean, the first episode, he argued with him. He argued with Owen Wilson. Like, no, like that's not me. It's not decided. I make my own decisions, right? So he's already acting this way, and then, like you said, all of a sudden it's like, wait, how did he get to Infinity War Loki already? Like this is a different. For all arguments' sake, this is kind of a different Loki, but this is the Loki, like you said, from Avengers, who just pulled the guy's eye out and, like you said, stabbed the guy through the heart, through the back. By the way, like
he
this
killed
guy's ruthless.
Agent. What's his name? You know,
Coulson.
Yeah, Coulson. So I've been wondering if I was overthinking it, but I mean, I'm still on board with this series, but this episode, like I said, the ending was really good, and obviously I'm gonna be back next week and watch it, see how it goes on, but not necessarily a fan of this episode as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that, like me personally, like I'm with you. I think Loki has gotten too soft too fast. Like even to the point like he's getting his butt kicked all the time, and it's just like, wait a second, where's your like multiplicity thing that you do, right? Like where's that power all the time? Like where you're skilled, like in Ragnarok, man, or he's skilled with the daggers. And with the fighting, and he has all these tricks. Like Thor has a hard time capturing him. The Avengers have a hard time. Like where is this man with all these skills?
This is the guy that all the Avengers had to unite to stop his plan. And he's being taken down by some train conductors in this in this episode. And I think it does. I think it does go to
level threat.
And I think it. And I think it does go back to what you said. It does come across as lazy writing because you have to look back to this character. What have they done in their history, and how can you write for it? It's no secret I'm a fan of professional wrestling. We talked about on the show, and there's a big debate now in wrestling that they have writers who know nothing about wrestling writing the shows, and it shows on screen. And I think maybe we have a case of people writing the show that know nothing about the characers. I would never be able to write for Marvel because I don't know the comics,
and that's kind of the problem. I've been watching a couple of other much more nerdier guys than myself who know way more comics and way more lore than I do. And I've been kind of watching their stuff just to learn more about learn about comics and stuff, because I don't have the time nor the finances to go back and read all this stuff.
Comics are expensive. Graphic novels. I tried to get the graphic. I was gonna do a Batman graphic novel collection. Nah,
it'll take a while. I know. So that's like for me. So the comics that I have, the comics that I've read, that's pretty much it. That's what I got. And it is evident. And I kind of had a debate with a friend of mine, especially when it came to the Spider-Man movies, right? This is probably part of the reason why I love the Tobey Maguire movies so much, because the director and the writers knew the Spider-Man comics, right? Like they knew their source material. But the MCU, probably about I don't know, maybe start of phase 3. Even though I liked what they did through phase 3 for the most part, all right? There's still some movies that were stinkers. But it just feels like now it's less about, hey, we're gonna. I mean, Kevin Feige pretty much came out and said, the comics aren't source material. We're writing our own stories with these characters. So they don't even care about that, which of course comic fans and stuff that have grown up with these characters, that's a huge turnoff for us. and it does.
And it should be. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have that point, like with wrestling. It is to the point now, unfortunately, that we have writers, we have directors, heck, we have actors who don't know the source material. They don't know the characters. They don't know the history. And so you're getting worse and worse writing and worse storytelling coming out of the MCU, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That I think it's going to start. We'll see how Phase 4 pans out.
Yeah.
But if they continue this way, I can see it starting to die off.
And it's honestly, and that's been going on for a while too. And it can be done in a good way too. Like, for example, I'm rewatching the Batman movies on my 4K disc, and
as you should.
Thank you for the support. I've watched Batman and Batman Returns this week, movies that I still love from my childhood. It is evident Tim Burton has never read a Batman comic in his entire life. You know what I'm saying? So this has been going on for a long time. They want to make their films and their art, and I respect them for that. But I think you got to look at the source material too, and I think pay homage to where they come from. You know what I'm saying? Because as much as these directors and writers want to pretend this is not their original idea, they can add to it. That's fine. But so.
Yeah. Well, you also got to remember too that like when Tim Burton made that Batman, he always saw if you remember, I think you've seen the documentary. He talks about how he always saw Batman as goofy because the Adam West stuff. And he's like, I want to take a more serious tone. So no doubt. He wanted to take the character that people knew, but he wanted people to take that character more seriously.
Yeah.
Thus, we get Batman and Batman Returns. So I think that's why it worked, because at least his heart was in.
Yes, his heart was in it.
He wanted to do justice to a character that he was directing and he was writing. So at least,
and it's great too. And it's great too. I was talking more like the machine guns on the Batmobile, lighting the guy on fire, stuff like that. It's like, I have no problem with do what.
But not killing, just knocking him out.
Okay. Yeah, not killing. Yeah. but yeah. So I'm sorry, I took us down a rabbit trail and I mentioned wrestling and Batman. Sorry. But yeah, so episode 3, not the best. Watch it for the beginning and the end, and watch it because you will be bored if you're gonna watch it. You will be bored in the middle. There's a train ride it happens. And I will say this episode gave me some cause for concern. I'll just say that. But
because now you feel like they have a lot to explain in less episodes. I think that's why.
Yep.
And even if people make the argument, well, wait a second, but Gary Efron, you talk about you appreciate character development, you want to fall in love with characters. This was a moment where you're seeing them starting to trust each other. Yeah, but the history that we know of Loki, again, he does whatever he wants because Loki's looking out for number one. So pretty much anything he said during that conversation could all have been a lie, anyways.
Oh,
so
no doubt.
What you were trying to do through the writing doesn't matter. And so that's why for me, it's like a moment like this with Loki doesn't matter. That's why I liked it better in Ragnarok and Infinity War, because there were quick little moments where you're like, he really did change, because you saw what he did. You saw his actions right after that. And so
this series has not earned those moments yet.
Correct.
And they're connecting heart for moment. They just met each other in a random grocery store in Alabama in 2050.
And they're trying to outdo one another.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not ready for that moment yet. It's like, you got to earn that stuff.
Life-threatening, don't you think?
Yeah. She was. Well, she was also someone that was killing these time cops or whatever they were called, setting them on fire, and then now she's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. They'll have BFF bracelets next episode. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah. I mean, listen, people fell in love. People who didn't know about Loki before this, right? Before the MCU, fell in love with Loki and his character because he wasn't your typical big, brawny superhero guy who could punch through things. He was a guy, he was a mischief. He had to think around things. He had to strategize. He had a plan. So it pretty much showed like a guy who was physically weaker, if you will, but still able to tango with the gods of the superheroes of the MCU. And so and plus he's hilarious. He's a funny character, but you see him tangling, you see him messing with him. You see everything that he does. This is why people fell in love with this character. And that's what you need to keep building on. That's what you need to keep showing. Like again, episode 3 is not the time where we want to, sit down with the Lokis and catch up about their past and see how they're doing. Save that for episode 5.
On today's episode of Lattes with Lokis, we're going to talk about our past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have these heartfelt moments. No, if you want a heartfelt moment, wait till episode 5. That's when you do it.
Yeah. Yep. Couldn't agree more. So yeah, not the best episode. So hopefully episode 4 brings the series back, and we can go from there. Yeah. So
no, I do have to ask you this, Gary, because I felt this way. I want to see if you did. When episode 3 ended, on the way it ended, did you also think, you could have resolved this if you didn't waste that time on the train?
Yeah, I didn't, but yes, you're exactly right.
So sorry to say, episode 3 ends on a cliffhanger. All right, I didn't spoil anything, but like we might not have had a cliffhanger if you didn't waste 30 minutes on that nonsense.
Yep. This all could have been avoided if you just prioritize.
Yes, good story, good character development that again supports the story.
Yep. And like I said, and that's the moral of tonight's episode. Support the story.
Yes.
Yes,
character development that supports the story and moves the story forward. That's what we need. This episode. We should
start a segment, Servicing the Story with Efren and Gary.
There we go.
Supporting the story.
Here's a good version. Here's a bad version.
Yeah. So, nice.
So there we go.
Anyway, thanks for watching. You got anything else to add? I think we pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, I think we covered it all. Listen, we're still watching. We want to see.
Oh, yeah, we're still watching. Yeah.
Now I'm even more curious. How are they gonna move forward and still like make this show make sense? Because now you just wasted time. You got a lot of time to catch up here.
Yep. It is it's getting late early, Loki series. So what you gonna do about it? Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode soon. All right.
All right.
Peace out, homies.